bring the jury. Yeah. All right, please be seated. Would you check with Mr. Padula out there to see? I thought they were standing in the hallway. Understood. Yes.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
Your Honor, would you,
Yes, you may.
would you prefer for me to ask for her to say her name or skip
No,
it?
no.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Skip it.
Could you tell us what you are currently doing? Are you in school or are you employed?
I'm in graduate school.
And you don't have to tell us exactly where, but what type of graduate program are you in?
I'm in a neuroscience PhD program.
And prior to being enrolled in the neuroscience program, which is the PhD program you're in, were you enrolled in school at Vanderbilt University?
I was.
And
Turn that mic towards you a little bit. Turn it to your left a little bit. Because it's not picking up your voice very well.
what year were you at Vanderbilt University in June of 2013?
I was an incoming senior.
And in June 2013, where were you living?
I was living at the Village at Vanderbilt, an off-campus apartment complex.
Did you have a roommate?
I did.
And who was that roommate?
Lauren Miller.
I want to draw your attention specifically to Saturday, June 22nd of 2013. On that Saturday afternoon, did you know Brandon Vandenburg?
I knew him.
And how long had you known him?
Approximately 2 weeks.
What did you do that Saturday night?
I spent some time in my apartment with some friends before going to a bar.
Did you have anything to drink while you were at your apartment?
I did. I had one mixed drink.
And how did you go from your apartment to going out to the bar?
I took a cab with my friends that I was with.
Do you remember who you were with?
Yes, ma'am. Madison Jensen, Lauren Miller, Katie White, and a friend of Lauren Miller's from her hometown that was visiting that weekend was with us.
Do you remember approximately what time you arrived at the bar?
Yes, it was around midnight.
And which bar did y'all go to?
Tin Roof.
Once you got to the Tin Roof, what did you do?
I took some pictures with some friends, said hi to people.
And have you since seen the pictures that you took with your friends?
Yes, ma'am.
And who are the pictures with?
Lauren Miller, Madison Jensen, Katie White.
After you arrived at the Tin Roof bar, did you see Mr. Vandenburg?
Yes.
And could you describe how did you feel when you saw him?
I was happy to see him.
And once you saw him, could you describe his demeanor?
He seemed happy, socializing, normal.
At any point, did you have anything to drink?
I did.
And do you remember the first drink that you had once you got to the Tin Roof?
Yes, ma'am. It was a gin and tonic. Excuse me.
Once you got the drink, kind of what were you doing? Were you talking to a bunch of people or?
I was standing in a group of people that I knew, just kind of socializing.
Did you continue to spend time with Mr. Vandenburg?
Yes. I saw him soon after I arrived.
And at any point, did you have a second drink?
Yes.
And what type of drink was that?
It was Brandon Vandenburg told me it was a Red Bull and vodka.
Do you remember that drink?
Yes, a group of them were put on the surface by the bartender, and Brandon Vandenburg picked up 2 of them and tried to give me one, but he wanted me to do something. Brandon Vandenburg asked me to poke a hole in it or something strange. I didn't want to do it, so he poured it into my empty cup from the gin and tonic. It was almost finished.
And when you say poke a hole in it, what are you referring to?
Some of the guys were poking holes in the cans and like drinking it out of the hole with the key.
Are you referring to a Red Bull can?
Yes,
Did you drink that drink?
I did.
And at any point, did you have another drink?
Yes.
And how did you get that drink, and do you remember what it was?
Yes, it was a shot of whiskey. Again, the bartender put a big group of them on the surface, and Brandon Vandenburg picked one up and handed it to me, and I consumed it.
And do you remember what type of whiskey it was?
Yes, it was called Fireball. It was a cinnamon whiskey.
And at any point, did you have another drink that you remember?
Yes.
And how did you get that drink?
It was a drink that was blue in a clear cup. Unlike the other times where it was kind of a big group, this was on its own, and I didn't see it until Brandon Vandenburg had it in his hand and walked up to me.
And what do you mean it was on its own?
So like with the Red Bull cans and the shots, they were kind of ordered in big groups and set on the table to give to people. But Brandon Vandenburg just brought me this one drink.
And at any point, do you remember being given anything else to drink?
Yes, around the same time, another group of shots were put down, and he picked one up and gave that to me. But after I had taken a sip or 2 of the blue drink, and I was starting to feel a little intoxicated, so I gave that shot to somebody else.
Did Mr. Vandenburg say anything to you when he gave you the blue drink?
Yes, he said, out in California, this is our version of the Long Island iced tea, and it's so good, and you have to try it, Y'all don't have this out here.
And you said that you took a sip or 2 of that drink. Did you finish the drink?
I don't remember finishing it.
What do you remember happening after that point?
The next thing I remember is waking up in an unfamiliar room around 8 a.m. the next morning.
Do you remember kind of how you were when you woke up? Were you clothed or unclothed?
I was clothed, and I was in a bed.
Was there anybody else in the room?
No, there was not.
And when you got up, did you recognize the room that you were in?
No, I did not.
And what did you do at that point?
At that point, I exited the room, and then I realized I was in Gillette Hall. And I saw the door of somebody that I knew, and I went and knocked on it.
And when you went and knocked on the door, did somebody immediately answer?
No, not immediately. So I called the person, and then they answered.
And do you remember who that was?
Yes, Jake Bernstein.
And do you remember, did you go into the room once he answered the door?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do then?
After that, I received a call from Madison Jensen, one of the people I mentioned had been with me the night before. And after speaking with her, she came to Gillette Hall and came to the room.
And what did you do at that point?
At that point, the person's roommate was out of town, and I fell asleep in that empty bed for, I think it was a couple hours.
And in that first time, from 8 o'clock when you wake up How do you feel at that moment?
I felt out of it. I didn't feel like myself. Just off and confused and scared.
Had you ever felt that way before?
I never felt like that in my entire life.
And after you woke up, what did you do at that point?
Well, I exited the room, and I also began texting Brandon Vandenburg, trying to figure out what was going on.
When you exited the room, were you by yourself, or what did you do?
I was by myself, and I went and knocked on the door of someone I knew.
And I'm sorry, I think I asked a bad question. After you went into your friend Jake Bernstein's room, and you said your friend Madison Jensen came over, at some point you said that you had gone back to sleep for a little bit in an empty bed. Mm-hmm. When you woke up, what did you do at that point?
Madison Jensen and I left the building, and I think it was between 11 and 12. We walked outside, and my car was in the circle drive out, in front of the building.
Did you know how your vehicle had gotten there?
I had no idea, and it was very surprising and confusing that it was there, but I got in and drove it back to my apartment.
And what type of vehicle did you have?
I had a black two-door Mercedes.
Was that a new car?
No, it's 10 years old.
How were you able to get in your car? Did you have any of your things?
Yes. When I woke up in the room, I saw my keys and my phone sitting next to a TV on top of a dresser to the left of the bed that I woke up in. But I didn't see my shoes. And so that's how I could get in the car, is I had the keys.
And you said that you found those keys on a dresser in that unfamiliar room, is that right?
That's correct.
When you get in your car, do you notice anything unusual?
Yes, there was blood smeared across the glove box in front of the passenger seat.
And at that point, how are you feeling?
As time went on, I was feeling worse, and I also started to notice how I was in a lot of pain everywhere, and particularly in my left shoulder hurt, and then also my left wrist, and I had a wound on my right knee that was actively bleeding.
And what did you do when you left the Circle Drive of Gillette Hall?
Madison Jensen also got in the car, and we drove back to my apartment, which is really close.
Once you got to the apartment, what did you do?
I saw one of the shoes I'd been wearing the night before in front of the townhouse, and then I went inside and I saw my roommate.
And what do you remember her demeanor that day? We were both worried. She was worried for me, and we were confused and scared. How did you, were you able to at some point look in the mirror and see your appearance?
Yes, but at that time not too much. We soon after that went to a place walking distance for breakfast, and before that I kind of quickly changed and just quickly rinsed off, but I noticed that my hair had definitely been wet the night before. I could tell that it had gotten wet and dried.
And had you styled your hair before you went out the night before?
Yes.
And did your hair look the same as when you had fixed it?
What? Okay, well, rephrase.
I just asked her if her hair looked the same the next morning as it did before she went out the night before.
All right, go ahead, answer.
No, and I know my hair, and it does a certain thing when it gets wet, and it had been wet. It did not look the same as the night before.
And at any point on that Sunday, did you speak to Brandon Vandenburg?
Yes.
Could you describe the first conversation that you had with him that day? Just generally describe what he was saying and how he was acting.
So like I said, I began texting him pretty soon after I woke up, kind of asking about what was going on, and throughout the day he told me his version of what had happened, and that was that I had gotten sick in his room and he had to spend the whole night taking care of me. It was so horrible for him, and he was not happy about it.
And how did that make you
And he had to clean it up, sorry.
How did that make you feel?
Awful. I was embarrassed. I was apologizing.
And did you talk to him again, either that day or later?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the next conversation you had with him?
So eventually he asked me to come back over, and then he kind of asked me again, and then I went. So I saw him again in Gillette Hall in his room. I think it was around like 5 or 6 that evening of Sunday the 23rd.
How did he act when you saw him that evening?
At first we talked about the night before, and he again was telling me how I had been throwing up in his room and that it made a big mess and he had to clean it up, and it was horrible. And when I tried to kind of ask him for more information, like I didn't understand how that could happen based on what I remembered. And he just would say, I don't want to talk about it. It was horrible. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. And kind of was not happy about it. I felt bad.
And did he say anything else to you when you went over?
Yes. So then we sat and talked for a while, and he kind of suddenly started being very nice. And we just talked for a while. And then eventually he kind of suddenly initiated intercourse.
What, if any, type of protection did he use?
He didn't use protection. He didn't ask me if I wanted him to use protection.
And after that day, did you see Brandon Vandenburg again later that week?
I never saw him again until court.
And at some point, people from Vanderbilt or detectives, did they contact you about that night?
Yes, I was contacted by someone from Vanderbilt in the morning of Wednesday, June 26th of 2013.
And on that day, how were you feeling?
Well, the last few days I'd been getting kind of more of his version, and once questions started being raised, he was kind of telling me how nothing happened and he would never let anything happen. And then I was learning information that was not consistent with what he had been telling me, and I was just trying to figure out what was going on.
And at the time that you spoke to police detectives, what was your kind of thought and feeling as it related to Mr. Vandenburg?
My biggest concern at that time was trying to protect him, and I was worried about them getting kicked off the football team, and the things he had been telling me he was upset about is what I was worried about at that time.
And at the time that you spoke to them, did they show you video surveillance?
No, but they showed me a few still shots from surveillance video.
And at this time, I would ask that a previously entered exhibit, and I apologize, I don't have the number in front of me. Here is an exhibit of still photographs that were entered through Detective Mayo. I believe it's exhibit number 7. It's a collective. I'm going to ask that that be passed to the witness. Ma'am, if you can just look at those images. Do you recognize those images?
Yes, those are the ones I think that was shown that morning, or it was actually the afternoon by the time I saw them of Wednesday.
Wednesday, June 26th?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time, did they show you the actual surveillance video?
No, they did not.
And at any point, have they shown you all of the surveillance video from that night?
No, I've seen parts of it.
Have you seen the video that shows you going from the front door all the way to the point of where Mr. Vandenburg's dorm room was? Or do you know if you've seen all of it?
I'm not sure. I've seen parts of it.
Do you have any memory of anything that you might have done getting up, moving around between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. that morning of June 23rd?
Not at all.
And at some point, has someone shown you a clip during that time frame
Yes, ma'am.
from the video surveillance?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any memory of that whatsoever?
I do not.
On June 22nd, 2013, that night into that early morning, did you have any idea who Cory Batey was?
None.
Did you have any idea who Brandon Banks was?
No.
Did you have any idea who Jaborian McKenzie was?
No.
Ma'am, when you have just testified about speaking with the detectives and that they showed you the few surveillance shots, after meeting with them, what, if anything, did you do or what happened?
During that meeting, they asked me if I'd be willing to do a medical legal exam. And eventually I agreed to do that. So after that, I went to the emergency room with the detective.
And can you explain, you said that you didn't immediately, eventually you did it. Kind of, what do you mean by that?
I mean, I wasn't familiar with it, so I asked some questions about what would happen. And also, they told me they would have to get a cheek.
Well,
And I apologize, I can rephrase my question.
all right, please.
When they ask you that, I guess, can you just not, Instead of describing kind of the specifics of it, what were your thoughts? How did you feel about that at that moment?
I was worried that Brandon Vandenburg would be mad at me because he would have to give a cheek swab if I got the examination.
She could have said anything.
Which, ma'am, you've testified that you don't have any memory from that night of June 22nd, June 23rd. Did you consent to anyone touching you in any way?
Absolutely not.
Did you consent to Mr. Batey, Mr. Banks, Mr. McKenzie, or Mr. Vandenburg touching you in any way?
Absolutely not.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
There's some tissue over here. Cross-examination.
Found me this board that just to get up to.
Sure.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, you, in 2013, of course, you told us you were attending Vanderbilt University,
That's correct.
and you were on the dance team there.
I was.
And you also worked in some capacity with the athletic department.
I assisted with the administration of a couple high school football camps.
And in that, and Mr. Vandenburg came for a recruiting trip in 2013, early 2013.
Okay.
I mean, do you recall that?
I think so.
Yes. And you actually met him at on that recruiting trip briefly.
Yeah, I think someone introduced him to me.
Okay. So you knew of him at least back in early 2013.
I don't know if I really remembered it, but yeah.
And do you recall testifying in an earlier proceeding and being asked, if you recall, when you first met Mr. Vandenburg, and you say, I think I met him briefly earlier that year when he was visiting campus.
That's right.
Is that accurate? Thank you. And then, excuse me, in early June of 2013, Mr. Vandenburg came to Vanderbilt to to start school and to start playing football at Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Is that correct? Do you
Sure.
know that?
Sure.
Okay. And you began seeing him then at that time?
I think, yeah, around that time, approximately 2 weeks before this incident.
Okay. And you saw him 3 or 4 times?
That sounds right.
And you saw him the week of the 22nd. You saw him earlier that week?
Yes, I'd seen him earlier that week.
Now, I want to talk to you about going to the tin roof on late in the evening of June 22nd. You arrived at the tin roof about midnight.
That's correct.
Okay. And you were at your apartment before that.
That's correct.
And with a group of your girlfriends.
That's correct.
Okay. And y'all were doing what's called pre-gaming.
Sort of. It wasn't really a party because it was just some of us sitting around the kitchen table.
And then some people call that pre-gaming.
Sure.
And that's basically drinking before you go out drinking.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Sure.
Now, you were there, and again, this was at your apartment with Madison Jensen and Lauren Miller.
Yes, sir, and Katie White and a friend of Lauren Miller's from her hometown.
I believe her name was Molly Henderson. Do you recall that name?
I don't recall it.
And you were drinking gin.
That's correct.
Okay. And you weren't mixing drinks for other people, and other people weren't mixing drinks for you. You were mixing your own drinks.
Yes, sir. I made my own drink. I measured out 3 ounces into my drink.
Okay. And that was 3 ounces of gin.
Correct.
Okay. Now, at some point in time, you all left and you took a cab to the tin roof.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, your car, your black Mercedes, you parked at the Villages of Vandy complex?
Yes, I had a reserved parking spot.
Okay.
Like everyone that lives there does.
Yes. And you didn't take your car with you to the tin roof?
No, I would never drive if I was planning on drinking.
Right. You didn't take it to the tin roof, you took a cab?
Correct.
Okay. And you, I believe you had you got a receipt for the cab ride? Do you recall?
Yes, I was able to retrieve my receipt, so I gave that to the police.
And it shows that y'all got there around midnight, about 11:55.
That's correct.
And basically this was to go see friends and socialize at the tin roof.
Yes.
And there were a lot of other people there, I take it.
Yes, it was a Saturday night.
And it's a pretty popular place with students.
Yes, it was very popular for Vanderbilt students.
And for football players also.
Vanderbilt students, including football players.
Including football players. And when you got there, you walked around to see who was there?
Just kind of saw who was there, said hi.
Kind of taking a lap, I guess, around the bar to see who's there.
I wouldn't say it like that.
Okay. But you walked around to see who was there, see if there were any of your friends there.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And you saw Mr. Vandenburg there.
I did.
And he was, do you recall him being at the bar with Juliana Martell?
I recall seeing Juliana near where he was standing. She was also a friend of mine, so I ended up talking with them.
Okay. Now, there was a woman named Angie there. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And there was a man named Tom that was with her?
There was someone that was with her. I think his name might have been Tom.
And she was buying drinks for probably several people, but at least she was buying drinks for your group of friends.
It appeared she was buying drinks for athletes.
Okay. And when you got there, you said you had a gin and tonic when you first got there,
That's correct.
and you didn't buy that drink yourself.
No, I did not.
Okay. It was Angie that bought the gin and tonic.
I believe that she did.
Okay. And it was Tom that handed you that gin and tonic.
Well, Brandon kind of told them to ask me what I wanted. I had never met them before. But yes, the bartender, they had asked me what I wanted. I said I wanted gin and tonic. The bartender gave it to them, and they handed that to me.
Okay. And later on, Angie also bought you a Fireball shot.
My understanding is that she bought it, but the rest of the drinks Brandon handed to me. So,
And do you recall telling Detective Mayo, do you recall being interviewed by Detective Mayo on July the 8th, 2013?
I do.
And you remember telling him that Angie was at the bar and she bought a big round of shots?
That's correct.
Okay. And you told him that you picked one up yourself and drank it. Do you recall telling Detective Mayo that?
One of the shots, maybe I did pick up myself. I'm not sure.
Okay. And you drank several drinks that night.
Just the specific ones that I said are the only ones that I remember drinking.
And it was more than you usually drink that night.
It was.
And in fact, I believe you told Nurse Parnell that you drank quite a bit that night.
The number of drinks I've testified to, yes.
Okay. Do you recall telling Nurse Parnell that you drank quite a bit that night?
Yes.
Now, you were talking about the blue drink. And do you recall telling that was a drink that was sold at the Tin Roof?
Not that I was aware of.
Okay, do you recall telling Detective Mayo on July the 8th, 2013, that the blue drink was called an Adios something?
I was repeating what Brandon Vandenburg had told me.
Okay. But does the term Adios something ring a bell?
Not right now.
Okay. But it had been an Adios obscene term was the name of it.
Whatever Brandon Vandenburg was saying, I don't know what it was.
Okay. But you don't know who told you that it was an Adios something?
Well, he was the only one. I mean, he's the one that gave me the drink and talked to me about it. It was.
Okay. Now, do you recall telling Juliana Martell that Angie gave you the blue drink?
No.
So you did not tell Juliana Martell that?
No.
Now, do you recall, again, talking with Detective Mayo on July the 8th, 2013, and you told him that you finished the blue drink?
I did not tell him that.
Now, Mr. Vandenburg, at the Tin Roof, when you saw him, he was acting normally?
Yes.
He was happy?
Yes.
He was socializing?
Yes.
And you saw him drink a Red Bull and vodka?
I did.
And he also drank shots of liquor?
I saw him take one shot, but I wasn't really watching what he was drinking, so I'm not completely sure.
Okay. Do you recall testifying at a previous proceeding that you saw Mr. Vandenburg drink a Red Bull and vodka, and you also saw him take shots?
Yes, sir.
And you were asked, when you say shots, is that multiple? And you said yes. And the question was how many? And you said a couple.
Okay, that sounds right.
Okay. But then again, you're not exactly sure how many he had total.
No, I wasn't counting.
after the incident, let me ask you this. When you woke up that morning, again, you were fully clothed,
Yes,
and your phone was there in the room,
it was.
and your car keys were there,
My key ring was there. It had my keys, including my car keys.
including your car keys. And you had this, was your, I guess your, I want to say house key, but it wasn't a house. Your
Well, it was a house key.
Your house key, okay, we'll call it that. Was it a key like a metal key that you usually see with the little cutouts in it, or?
It was shaped like a normal key, but it was not metal. Had a different mechanism of unlocking.
Kind of like an electronic key?
But it was inserted kind of like a normal key.
Okay. And that key would only operate your door.
Right.
In other words, if you went to another door at a different building, or even a different door in your building, it wouldn't work. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, one thing that wasn't in the room there when you woke up that was your shoes.
That's right.
And again, when you got back to the villages at Vandy, you found your shoes there on the lawn at your, is it a condo? I don't want to use the wrong term.
Apartment, townhome.
And on the lawn there at your apartment, you found one of your shoes.
I found one of my shoes when I first arrived back at my apartment in front of it. I found the other shoe later that day.
Okay. And obviously, you had worn shoes to the tin roof.
I had.
Okay. You wouldn't want to walk around inside the tin roof barefooted.
Of course not.
And when you woke up that morning, you texted Mr. Vandenburg to find out where you were.
That's correct.
And he responded to your text,
He did.
told you that you were in his room.
Yes. I think he called it his crib.
It's his crib. It's another term like pre-gaming that I hear. Now, when you when you got up that morning and you went outside, you obviously you found your vehicle out there, your car.
Yes, I saw it when I left the building.
And the last time you had seen it, it was at your apartment before you went to the tin roof.
That's correct.
And I believe your purse was in the car.
I think it might have been, but I'm not completely sure. But it was not in Gillette.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't in Gillette.
Right. Well, do you remember testifying in a previous proceeding?
Yes, I said I'm pretty sure it was in the car, but I'm not completely sure.
Okay. We were being asked the question, when you first got out of your car, did you observe anything in your car? And you said, yes, my purse was in the floor of the passenger seat.
I think it was.
Okay. And you did say, you said passenger seat, I think.
Yes, the floor of the passenger seat. I think I saw it there, but I'm not completely sure.
And the blood on the glove box of your car, that was not there the day before.
That's correct.
Okay. But it was there when the car was parked in front of Gillette that morning.
Of June 23rd, yes.
Yeah. First time you'd seen that blood on the car.
Yes,
And and you said you had a cut on your knee.
I did.
It had been bleeding.
Yes.
when you got back to your apartment that day, was it still morning when you got back to your apartment?
I believe it was between 11 a.m. and noon.
Okay. And your friends wanted to go to Pancake Pantry.
That's correct.
It's a very popular place, I take it, on Sundays for their buffet.
It is. Well, it wasn't a buffet, but it's a popular place on Sundays.
I've never been there, but I've heard it's good food. But you weren't at your apartment very long before you left.
That's
Pancake
correct.
Pantry. And you changed clothes
I
before
did.
you left.
I did.
But you did not take a shower.
I think I rinsed off quickly in the shower, but I didn't get my hair wet, so because we were about to leave, it would be soaked.
Now, so you went to the Pancake Pantry and ate with your friends,
Yes,
and then returned to your apartment.
that's correct.
Was Ms. Miller with you at that point in time?
Yes, Lauren Miller and Madison Jensen were with me.
Okay. And then later on that afternoon, you and, I'm sorry, I said Lauren Miller. Did you say Madison Jensen?
I said both of them.
Oh, both of them. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Then later that day, you went out to the pool to say hi to some friends.
Yes, I think for like less than 5 minutes. Like the pool that was part of the complex I lived in. And that's when I found my other shoe. It was all the way over by the pool.
Okay. That's still at your complex.
It was still in the complex.
Was the pool, was it at a place called 11 North? Is that?
No, that's, no. It's a completely different place. I'm talking about the village at Vanderbilt, where I lived at the time.
The village is,
His question was, are you familiar with the pool at 11 North?
Oh, am I familiar with it? I think Madison Jensen lived there. That's just the name of an apartment complex.
okay.
She lived there at the time. I'd been there during the day on Saturday. But that's what you're asking.
Okay. I mean, could that have been the pool you went to that Sunday? Or?
No.
Okay, it was actually the pool at Village of Andy.
Right, I just walked over there and said hi to someone that was there, some of my friends were there, and then walked back to my apartment.
Okay. Now, said that you had never passed out like this before.
That's correct.
Do you remember telling Detective Mayo about a blackout that you had one time?
I told him that had happened once before, but I hadn't passed out.
Okay. Did you tell him that you were walking around talking to people and weren't aware of what you were doing?
Do I need to take this wrong? That's not what I said exactly, no.
Okay. But you don't.
I object to the question being asked by Mr. Reagan. He's asking her specifically what she said in a prior interview or hearing. He's not asking her the question first.
Okay.
I mean, he needs to ask the question, and if the answer's different, then he can ask her about what she said in the
Right.
interview.
Have you ever had a blackout before?
Once.
Okay. You were walking around and talking to people during the blackout,
Yes, I did.
and that you had no memory of what happened during that blackout.
I did. I just didn't. I was in my apartment in my dorm room at the time with my roommates, and I just didn't remember some of our conversations. But it wasn't anything close to this.
And people were telling you the next day what you had been doing during the blackout.
Yes.
And there was another time that you were out drinking, and one time you were out drinking and you passed out in a cab.
I didn't pass out. I mean, this is the same time I took a cab back to my dorm and fell asleep on the way back and woke up immediately and then went up to my dorm. And this was not around the same time as this incident we're here for.
Do you remember testifying in a previous proceeding that you were asked, had you ever passed out from drinking like this? And you said, never anything like this. There was one time I fell asleep in a cab on the way home after drinking, and someone had to wake me up.
Right, and I woke up immediately.
Your Honor, I object to the question. Again, this is improper impeachment. There's nothing different about that statement than what she just said.
Well, sustain your objection, but I mean, she's answered the question.
Thank you. Okay, just one point, please.
All right.
Thank you.
Ma'am, you do remember when you left Gillette Hall, you remember leaving Gillette Hall and walking out,
Yes, sir.
and Madison Jensen was with you.
Yes.
I want to show you what's been previously entered as Exhibit 2A. If I can find my plug. Ask you if you recognize.
You have to speak up a little bit.
Yes, sir. And ask you, ma'am, if you recognize that area there.
Yes.
And I think the young lady that's there, that's Miss Jensen.
I believe it is.
And that's you walking out with Ms. Jensen.
That's correct.
And that was the morning of June 23rd when you left Gillette Hall.
And based on the timestamps, yes.
I'm sorry.
Based on the timestamps, that's correct.
I also want to show you what's been previously entered as Exhibit 2A, Clip 35. Is that your Mercedes there?
That's my car.
And this is you and, again, Ms. Jensen?
And I don't know if I've seen this video before, but yes.
Okay. And that's you getting into the driver's seat and she getting into the passenger?
That's correct.
And that's when you pull away from Gillette Hall, and that's when you drive over to your apartment in Villages of Vandenburg.
Yes.
Okay, just a moment, Judge. Again.
All right.
Thank you. That's all the questions I had, Judge.
All right, read it right.
No regrets.
Okay, ma'am. You are excused. You can step out the back, please. Okay, state's next witness.
The next thing will be the election.
Election offenses. All right, ladies and gentlemen, in cases such as these, the state, in presenting their case, when you have multiple counts, they do an election of offenses. That's where they will read to you which offenses they believe they have proved that coincide with the counts of the indictment. That will be brought up again in the jury charge, where I will further explain what all of that means, okay? All right? All right.
Thank you.
All right.
There's the jury. The election of offenses reads as follows. Count 1 of the indictment alleges an act of aggravated rape against Elizabeth Lackey and refers to the following conduct. Brandon Banks penetrating the anus, and the court please, I know this has to be read, but if I could use just perhaps say EL.
Right.
Thank you. And that this would be in part of the charge as far as any note taking.
Right.
So, yes. Penetrated Brandon Banks, following conduct. Brandon Banks penetrated the anus of EL with an object while EL was unconscious on the floor of the dorm room located in Gillette Hall on Vanderbilt University campus. Count 2 of the indictment alleges an act of aggravated rape against EL and refers to the following conduct. The digital penetration of EL's vagina by Cory Batey while EL was unconscious on the floor of the dorm room located in Gillette Hall on Vanderbilt University campus. Count 3 of the indictment alleges an act of aggravated rape against E.L. and refers to the following conduct: the digital penetration of E.L.'s anus by Cory Batey while E.L. was unconscious on the floor of the dorm room located in Gillette Hall on Vanderbilt University campus. Count 4 of the indictment alleges an act of aggravated rape against E.L. and refers to the following conduct: an act of fellatio upon E.L.'s mouth or lips by Cory Batey while E.L. was unconscious on the floor of the dorm room located in Gillette Hall on Vanderbilt University campus. Count 5 of the indictment alleges an act of aggravated rape against E.L. and refers to the following conduct: the penile penetration of E.L.'s vagina by Cory Batey while E.L. was unconscious on the floor of the dorm room located in Gillette Hall on Vanderbilt University campus. Count 6 of the indictment alleges an act of aggravated sexual battery against E.L. and refers to the following conduct: the touching of the primary genital area of E.L. by Brandon E. Banks while E.L. was unconscious on the floor of the dorm room located in Gillette Hall on Vanderbilt University campus. And lastly, count 7 of the indictment alleges an act of aggravated sexual battery against E.L. and refers to the following conduct: Cory Batey placing his buttocks on E.L.'s face while E.L. was unconscious on the floor of the dorm room located in Gillette Hall on Vanderbilt University campus. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, with that,
State's case in chief, Your Honor.
all right, state's case in chief. All right, as I said, ladies and gentlemen, and well, we're going to excuse you for the day. I have to take up a couple of matters with the lawyers, and we will come back tomorrow and finish up this case. All right?
All rise.
And have a good evening, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
All right, please be seated. Any motions for the defense?
We do have the motion, if the court would entertain allowing us to make that motion first thing in the morning as to judgment of acquittal. We would like to have some time prepared in sequence so we could be sure to touch on every aspect of that judgment. 5 after 5, we can make that first thing in the morning. We can make it at 8:30 if the court please.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, I'd say 8:30, but let's try to make it no later than 8:45. All right?
8:45, very good.
All right.
We'll make that motion in the morning.
See you in the morning. Have a good evening, everybody.
All rise. Well, please, Your Honor, going to rule on our special jury request that we filed yesterday, and also we had one previously to put into charge, and I'm not sure it's in here. We're still in session. On encouragement is sufficient for criminal responsibility.
Well,
Everyone have a seat.
I didn't know that I had deleted the original one, but I have included the one that you submitted to me.
Okay.
Of course, the defense has the right to object to it, but I have included it at this point.
We were just requesting the other one. You previously granted it in the charge. I assumed it'd be in this one. I'll just look and see. But
Well,
I may not have it all correct. I don't have the file on things.
right, and if it's not, would you make another one for me?
Okay.
That was from a previous matter, right?
Yes, it was a previous trial.
Yeah, I remember Joan Moore submitted one, and I had that put in the charge. And that was the one I was talking about, that the defense has a right to object to if they choose to do so.
Your Honor, sir, is there another draft subsequent what we received yesterday morning? Not yet.
You're right. And I know that you, Mr. Reagan, you had mentioned about Rule 30.
Yes, sir.
And you want to do that in the morning?
If we could.
Okay, that'll be fine. All right.
Thank you.
Well,
No later.
right. We'll try to get here at 8:30. I know I'll be here at 8:30. I don't know about everybody else.
I think it'll be easier in the morning.
What?
Parking will be easier.
Yeah, parking, I don't know about traffic, but parking I'm sure will.
Noise from outside may be a little louder tomorrow.
What's happening tomorrow?
Speed bump races on the corner.
Entertainment. All rise. We've been adjournment till 8:45 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Well, also,